High Commander Praxx adjusted his ceremonial battle harness, the gleaming metals of 1,000 conquered worlds, catching the light of 3 artificial suns that illuminated the Grand War Chamber. Today would be historic. Today, the 1,000-year peace would end, and the Zolarian Empire would finally take its rightful place as the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. Mirror, he commanded, and a reflective surface materialized before him. Perfect. His 4 eyes were aligned in proper dominance formation, his scale plates polished to a threatening sheen. The fear glands at his throat were properly inflated, a traditional sign of war readiness among his kind. "The council awaits," High Commander announced his aide Trell, hovering nervously at the chamber entrance. "All 27 generals have arrived." "Excellent." Praxx dismissed the mirror with a flick of his secondary appendage. "The humans will learn what it means to ignore the territorial boundaries of the Zolarian Empire. Their continued expansion must be answered with proper fury." The corridor to the war chamber stretched before him, deliberately designed to be uncomfortably long, giving those summoned to council plenty of time to consider their inadequacies before facing their supreme leader. Praxx enjoyed the walk, rehearsing his declaration in his mind. The surveillance data was clear. Humans were soft, complacent creatures who had enjoyed peace for too long. Their military was a ceremonial joke, their weapons primitive by Zolarian standards. "Attention." High Commander Praxx enters, bellowed the chamber guard, striking the floor of reverence with his plasma staff. The gathered generals, representatives of 27 conquered species now serving the Empire, rose in perfect unison. Each wore the black and crimson of Zolarian military command, though their bodies couldn't have been more different. Some floated in containment fields, others stood on multiple legs, while a few were merely consciousness housed in mechanical forms. Praxx took his time walking to the elevated command platform. Let them wait. Let them feel the weight of impending glory. Generals of the mighty Zolarian Empire, he finally spoke, his voice amplified to uncomfortable levels, another psychological tactic he enjoyed. Today we embark on the most significant military campaign of our generation. The data has been processed. The simulations have been run. Victory is not merely probable. It is mathematically certain. He gestured dramatically, and the central holographic projector activated, displaying a slowly rotating Earth. Behold, the human homeworld. A pitiful blue marble housing a species that has forgotten what real conflict means. Our surveillance shows they have grown comfortable, complacent, and weak. Their so-called global military hasn't engaged in anything beyond minor peacekeeping for generations. General Clax, a massive slug-like creature representing the conquered Vermilion worlds, raised an appendage. "High Commander, our preliminary reports suggest unusual patterns in human historical archives. Their past conflicts are irrelevant," Praxx interrupted. "What species was once is meaningless compared to what they are now. And now, they are ripe for conquest." He flicked through various images of human cities, peaceful and undefended. "The invasion fleet is prepared," he continued. 7,000 warships, 3 million ground troops, enough firepower to turn their cities to ash if they resist. But they won't. Our psychological profile indicates they will surrender within hours of our declaration. Admiral Zengo, a veteran of 12 conquest campaigns, leaned forward. "And their space capabilities?" Praxx laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "Primitive vessels barely capable of reaching their own moon, nothing that could challenge even our smallest scout ships." The hologram shifted to display the planned invasion routes. Precise, efficient, overwhelming. "The declaration of war will be transmitted in exactly 6 hours. Prepare your forces. Ready your troops. The humans think they know peace." Praxx's voice lowered to a menacing growl. "We will teach them war." As the generals filed out, buzzing with excitement for the coming conquest, none noticed the junior intelligence officer hesitating at the back of the room, a data pad clutched in her 3 hands. trying to work up the courage to speak about the disturbing anomalies she'd discovered in the human historical archives. Transmission ready, High Commander. We've hijacked all Earth communication networks simultaneously. Every screen on their planet will display your message. The communications officer, a thin, gray-skinned Nexilian named Jorvo, looked up from his console with all 8 of his eyes blinking in sequence, his species' expression of satisfaction. Excellent. Praxx straightened his posture, inflated his fear glands to maximum intimidation size, and positioned himself perfectly in front of the transmission array. This moment would be studied in Zolarian history texts for generations to come. The moment when the greatest empire in the galaxy finally put the upstart humans in their place. You're living 321. The transmission beacon pulsed, and Praxx knew his face was now appearing on billions of screens across Earth. He allowed 5 full seconds of silence, let them take in his fearsome appearance, before beginning. Attention, citizens of Earth. I am High Commander Praxx of the glorious Zolarian Empire, conqueror of 27 civilizations, destroyer of the Andromeda Alliance, and soon to be your absolute ruler. He paused for dramatic effect. Your pitiful species has been found guilty of expanding beyond your assigned boundaries. Your continued colonization efforts on Mars, Europa, and Titan constitute a direct violation of Zolarian territorial claims. Praxx bared his triple row of serrated teeth in what his species considered a formal war grimace. The 1,000-year peace that has allowed your kind to flourish ends today. You have exactly 48 Earth hours to surrender unconditionally. Your world leaders must appear before me, on their knees, ready to sign the documents of absolute submission. Behind him, a holographic display showed the massive Zolarian fleet positioned just beyond Neptune, weapon systems glowing with barely contained energy. Should you choose to resist, we will demonstrate power your primitive minds cannot comprehend. Your cities will burn. Your oceans will boil. Your species will be reduced to a historical footnote in the glorious annals of Zolarian conquest. Praxx leaned closer to the transmission array, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. We have studied your defenses. We have analyzed your capabilities. Your surrender is not merely requested, it is mathematically inevitable. With a dramatic gesture, he activated the countdown display. 48 hours. The clock starts now. Our humans. Panic. Beg your leaders to save you through immediate surrender. It is your only hope for survival. He signaled for the transmission to end, then turned to Admiral Zengo with a satisfied grunt. Prepare for the diplomatic channels to be flooded with panic-stricken human representatives. I want a proper surrender ceremony arranged, something appropriately humiliating. Yes, High Commander. Zengo nodded. Intelligence suggests they'll likely try to negotiate terms first. Praxx laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Let them try. The only terms are total submission. Now, bring me the human response feed. I want to watch their news networks as the panic spreads. There's nothing quite like witnessing a species realize its own insignificance. As the command center rushed to comply, Praxx settled into his throne with anticipation. The humans would break quickly. They always did. 3 hours had passed since the declaration of war, and the command center of the Zolarian flagship had grown uncomfortably quiet. High Commander Praxx stood with his upper limbs tightly crossed, all 4 eyes fixed on the communication array. Nothing? Still nothing? He finally demanded, his voice causing several junior officers to flinch. Communications Officer Jorvo frantically checked his systems again. High Commander, I confirm our transmission was received by all Earth communication networks. Their global leadership has definitely seen our declaration. Then where is their response? Praxx's fear glands deflated slightly in confusion. No emergency broadcasts? No planetary defense activation? No diplomatic channels opening? Admiral Zengo approached cautiously. Perhaps they are paralyzed with fear, High Commander. or engaged in internal conflict over how to respond. "Or they're planning something," muttered General Praxx, his gelatinous form quivering with suspicion. Praxx slammed a clawed appendage against the command console. "Show me their information networks." Ow. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying what the intelligence division had identified as a primary human news broadcast. And in response to the alien declaration of war, a human female news presenter was saying, her face strangely composed, "But social media has exploded with what might be the most unified human response in history, though perhaps not the one our would-be conquerors expected." The news anchor's professional demeanor cracked slightly, a small smile breaking through. For more on this unprecedented reaction, we go to our digital trends correspondent, Tom Wakefield. Tom. The screen split to show a male human who appeared to be struggling even harder to maintain his composure. "Thanks, Rebecca. I'm actually going to need a moment here." The human called Tom covered his mouth, his shoulders shaking with what Praxx recognized as suppressed laughter. "Sorry, it's just the memes are absolutely incredible." "Memes?" Praxx turned to his cultural analyst. "What are these memes?" Before anyone could answer, the human broadcast continued, now showing a rapid succession of altered images of Praxx himself, with ridiculous headwear, with human sunglasses over his 4 eyes, with captions reading "Came to conquer Earth, didn't say please." And 1,000 years of peace wasn't enough for this guy. "Intelligence. Explain this immediately," Praxx roared. A junior intelligence officer named Mira hurried forward with a data pad. "Sir, memes appear to be a form of human communication through humorous modified imagery. They're spreading these across their global information network at an unprecedented rate." They're making fun of us?" Praxx's voice dropped dangerously low. The view screen changed again, now showing crowds of humans in major cities. Instead of running in panic or preparing defenses, they appeared to be celebrating. Some carried hastily made signs with crude drawings of Zolarian anatomy and mocking slogans. "We've intercepted transmissions from their entertainment networks as well," Jorvo reported reluctantly. "They're already producing what they call late-night comedy about our declaration." The screen switched to show a human performer addressing an audience. "So aliens declared war on us today," the human said, generating immediate laughter. "Apparently we've been expanding beyond our assigned boundaries," which is pretty rich coming from a guy whose fear glands are clearly compensating for something. The human audience erupted in raucous laughter and applause. "Impossible," Praxx whispered. "Our psychological profile indicated they would respond with terror and submission." "There's more, sir," Mira said, her voice trembling slightly. "Their official military channels remain silent, but we've detected a transmission originating from what they call the United Earth Government. It's directed specifically to you." "Display it," Praxx ordered. The screen changed to show a human in formal attire, seated at a desk. Unlike the others, this human maintained perfect composure, but there was something in the eyes, a glint that made Praxx's scales tighten with an unfamiliar sensation. "High Commander Praxx," the human began, "on behalf of humanity, I'd like to thank you for the most entertaining Tuesday we've had in decades. Your declaration has united our planet in ways our politicians have failed to achieve for centuries." The human leaned forward slightly. "We've marked our calendars for your deadline. In the meantime, might I suggest you check your own information networks? You might find them educational." The transmission ended abruptly. "What did he mean?" Praxx demanded. Jorvo's voice came from the communication station, unnervingly quiet. "Sir, our own communication systems are being flooded with human transmissions. They're sending us their war history." Junior intelligence analyst Krill had been trying to get someone's attention for the past 8 hours. Being the lowest-ranking member of the Zolarian Intelligence Division meant being ignored, particularly when your findings contradicted the official narrative. But as she reviewed the flood of historical data the humans were brazenly transmitting directly to the Zolarian fleet, her six-fingered hands began to tremble. "Lieutenant Mira," she called out, her voice barely audible above the increasingly frantic chatter in the intelligence hub. "Lieutenant Mira, I found something critical." Mira, already overwhelmed with managing the information crisis, glanced over irritably. "What is it, Analyst Krill? Make it quick." "The preliminary data used for our invasion strategy," Krill swallowed nervously. "It's catastrophically incomplete. We based our assessment on the last 100 years of human history, but they're sending us data going back thousands." Mira's irritation faded as she approached Krill's workstation. "Show me." Krill pulled up a series of historical images and videos. Devastating world wars, nuclear weapons tests, orbital weapons platforms, military technologies that had been developed and then, inexplicably, abandoned. "I don't understand," Mira said, her professional detachment slipping. "Why would a species develop such weapons and then stop using them?" "That's just it," Krill explained, clicking through more files. "They didn't stop developing them, they just stopped displaying them. Look at these classified documents they're freely sending us. In underground military installations, orbital defense systems currently in sleep mode, prototype weapons we have no counter for." Mira leaned closer, her four eyes widening in sequence, a sign of extreme stress in her species. "This can't be right. Our surveillance showed minimal military activity." "Because we were looking at the surface." Krill pulled up side-by-side comparisons. "Our intelligence focused on visible military bases, active weapons systems, and deployed troops. The humans deliberately maintain a minimal visible presence while keeping their actual capabilities hidden." As they scrolled through file after file, a disturbing pattern emerged. Humanity hadn't grown weak during the 1,000-year peace. They had simply grown secretive, developing weapons in the shadows while presenting a face of harmless civility to the galaxy. "There's more," Krill whispered, pulling up personnel files the humans had included. "Their military leaders. Look at their service histories." Mira scanned the documents and physically recoiled. 500 years? 480 years? These lifespans are impossible for humans. "Not impossible," Krill corrected. "Enhanced. They've achieved functional immortality for their military command structure, ensuring continuous strategic experience. Some of their generals have personal experience in over 50 major conflicts." Around them, other intelligence officers had begun to gather, their professional composure cracking as they glimpsed Krill's findings. "We need to take this to High Commander Praxx immediately," Mira said. Krill shook her head. He won't believe it. "It contradicts everything our invasion plan is based on." But look at what they're sending now. On the main screen, a new transmission began playing, historical footage of human warfare. Not the sanitized, distant images of drone strikes and precision weapons, but visceral, horrifying footage of human soldiers in direct combat. The brutal efficiency. The capacity for violence. The clear evolutionary adaptations for warfare that the Zolarian analysts had somehow missed. "They're not just showing us their weapons," a senior analyst muttered. "They're showing us themselves as weapons." Later, in the junior officers' mess hall, the mood was grim. Our conversations happened in whispers, with nervous glances toward the doors. "Did you see the files?" a navigation officer asked Krill. She nodded silently. "Is it true? About their war history?" "Worse than what you've heard," Krill replied. "They've sent us enough data to know that our intelligence failure isn't just bad. It's terminal." Across the vast Zolarian fleet, similar conversations were happening at every level below command. The truth was spreading, from officer to officer, technician to technician. The humans weren't afraid, they were amused. And in Zolarian tactical doctrine, An enemy who laughs at your threat display is an enemy who knows something you don't. High Commander, we've received an official response from Earth's unified government, Admiral Zengo announced, his voice carefully neutral. Praxx straightened in his command throne. Finally, 24 hours into the 48-hour countdown, and the humans had at last shown proper respect by responding through official channels. "Display it," he ordered, readying himself for the sight of trembling human representatives begging for terms. The main screen flickered to life, displaying the emblem of the United Earth Government, a stylized globe encircled by olive branches. Praxx snorted derisively at the pacifistic symbolism. The emblem faded, replaced by a montage of humans laughing. Hundreds of them. Thousands. In homes on streets, in gathering places. Young humans, elderly humans, humans of every color and type. All laughing hysterically, many pointing at crude drawings of Zolarian anatomy, some wearing makeshift costumes meant to parody Praxx's appearance. What is this?" Praxx sputtered, his fear glands deflating completely in confusion. The laughter montage continued for an excruciating 30 seconds before finally cutting to the same composed human official who had addressed them earlier. "High Commander Praxx," the human began, smiling pleasantly. "As requested, I am transmitting the official response of humanity to your declaration of war. As you can see, we've put it to a global vote, and the results were, well, quite clear." The human shuffled some papers. "Now, according to interstellar protocol, I should formally acknowledge your declaration. So here goes. The United Earth Government hereby acknowledges your adorably dramatic declaration of war and respectfully suggests you check your facts before threatening a species that invented 47 different doomsday weapons before breakfast." Praxx's claws dug into the armrests of his command throne. As a gesture of good faith, the human continued, "We've taken the liberty of preparing some educational materials about human warfare. For instance, this delightful comparison between your flagship and what we used to call a rowboat with a firecracker." The screen split to show the Zolarian command vessel alongside a human naval vessel from centuries past, with crude animations showing the Zolarian ship being repeatedly struck by primitive cannonballs while cartoon sound effects played. Enough. Praxx roared, but the transmission continued relentlessly. "We've also prepared some alternative surrender terms for your consideration," the human said, displaying a document titled Terms of Zolarian Surrender, since we're doing this apparently. Key points include mandatory dance lessons for all Zolarian military personnel and the immediate requisition of your fear glands for use as party balloons. The bridge crew stared in horrified silence. No species had ever dared speak to the Zolarian Empire this way. "You have 24 hours remaining in your own countdown," the human concluded. "We suggest you use it wisely. Perhaps for evacuation, or writing your wills, or just, turning around and pretending this never happened. Your call." The transmission ended with a winking emoji. Praxx sat frozen, his exoskeleton creaking with tension. When he finally spoke, his voice was dangerously quiet. "Intelligence Division, front and center. Now." As junior officers scrambled to comply, Admiral Zengo leaned in close. "High Commander, perhaps we should consider the possibility that our information regarding human capabilities was incomplete." Praxx's only response was a low, murderous hiss that sent the bridge crew shrinking back to their stations. The emergency briefing room felt unnaturally small with High Commander Praxx's rage filling every corner. 2 junior intelligence officers had already been executed for incompetence, their bodies still cooling in the corner as Lieutenant Mira stepped forward. Datapad clutched in trembling hands. "Speak," Praxx commanded, his voice unnervingly calm after his earlier outburst. "Tell me why the supposedly primitive humans are laughing at the might of the Zolarian Empire." Mira glanced at Analyst Krill, who gave an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. With a deep breath, Mira activated the central holographic projector. "High Commander, Our original intelligence assessment of human military capability was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of their species. The hologram displayed peaceful human cities, green parks, children playing. We interpreted their apparent lack of visible military infrastructure as weakness, a species that had forgotten warfare. She swiped to the next image, an underground facility stretching for kilometers beneath the peaceful surface. We were catastrophically wrong. Explain, Praxx demanded. Humans haven't forgotten war, High Commander. They've perfected it, then hidden it. Mira began cycling through images and historical footage that the humans had freely provided. Their history contains more warfare than any species we've encountered. They've been killing each other with increasing efficiency for thousands of years. The hologram displayed human conflicts through the ages, primitive battles with handheld weapons, mechanized warfare, aerial bombardment, and finally, most disturbingly, with our nuclear age. They developed planet-killing weapons centuries ago, then stepped back from the brink. Not out of weakness, but out of calculation. Mira's voice faltered. They realized they could destroy themselves, so they created a complex deterrent system. Then they buried their most advanced weapons beneath layers of secrecy, while presenting a peaceful face to the stars. Admiral Zengo leaned forward. Are you suggesting their current military is more advanced than what we're seeing in these historical records? That's not possible. Analyst Krill stepped forward uninvited. Permission to speak, High Commander? Praxx, unnervingly silent, merely nodded. It's not just possible, it's confirmed. Krill tapped her data pad, and the hologram shifted to display intercepted human military communications. They maintain what they call a strategic shadow force, military capabilities deliberately hidden from all observation, including their own civilian population. And their space-based defenses? General Klax asked. Mira swallowed hard. That's where our intelligence failure was most severe. We detected their civilian space presence and reconnaissance satellites, but missed this. The hologram changed to show a massive network of orbital platforms in standby mode, perfectly camouflaged against Earth's atmosphere from external observation. What we're looking at is an orbital defense grid with enough firepower to vaporize our entire invasion fleet. It's been there all along, powered down to minimal levels, waiting. Some of these weapons platforms have been in place for over 3 centuries. The room fell completely silent. I've run simulations based on the accurate data, Mira continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Would you like to see the projected outcome of our invasion? Without waiting for permission, she activated the simulation. The hologram showed the Zolarian fleet approaching Earth, then the sudden activation of the orbital defense grid. Within minutes, the simulation showed the complete annihilation of all Zolarian forces. This is the best-case scenario, Mira said quietly. It assumes they choose to be merciful and don't pursue our retreating forces back to Zolarian space. Praxx stared at the simulation as it repeated, his 4 eyes unblinking. And the worst-case scenario? Mira hesitated, then tapped her datapad once more. The new simulation began similarly but continued past the destruction of the invasion fleet. It showed human warships, previously hidden in asteroid bases and beneath the surfaces of seemingly uninhabited moons, emerging to follow the Zolarian retreat path. The simulation tracked the hypothetical human counterattack all the way to the Zolarian homeworld, ending with the complete subjugation of the entire empire. They have the capability, Mira said softly. And based on our analysis of human psychology, if sufficiently provoked, they have the will. But they're laughing, Admiral Zengo protested weakly. If they possess such power, why not simply threaten us with destruction? Krill answered, her voice steady despite her terror. Because that's not how humans operate. Throughout their history, when they laugh at an enemy's threat, she paused, struggling to find the words. It's because they've already calculated all possible outcomes and know they've won. The laughter isn't dismissal, it's confidence. Praxx finally spoke, his voice hollow. "You're telling me we've threatened a species that could wipe us out, and their response is to make jokes?" "Yes, High Commander," Mira confirmed. "And that may be the most terrifying thing about them." "This Emergency War Council is now in session," Praxx announced, his voice lacking its usual thunderous quality. The gathered generals shifted uncomfortably in their seats, none willing to make eye contact with their High Commander. The massive war chamber, designed to intimidate with its towering ceiling and harsh lighting, now felt like a tomb. Only 12 hours remained before the deadline they themselves had set. "Our options," Praxx stated flatly. "Not a question, but a demand." Admiral Zengo cleared his throat. "High Commander, given the revised intelligence, I recommend immediate withdrawal to Zolarian space. We can claim strategic repositioning for now and reassess from a safe distance." "Retreat?" Before a single shot is fired. General Klax's gelatinous form quivered with indignation. The humiliation would echo through the Empire for generations. "Better humiliation than annihilation," countered General Vrax, an ancient cybernetic being who had survived 3 regime changes. "I have reviewed the human historical data personally. Their capacity for warfare exceeds anything in our records. When provoked, they don't just defeat enemies, they erase them." The chamber erupted into chaotic argument. Some generals insisted on proceeding with the invasion despite the new intelligence, arguing that Zolarian honor demanded it. Others advocated for immediate, unconditional withdrawal. Silence. Praxx finally roared, slamming his ceremonial war staff against the floor. "What about diplomatic options?" Foreign Relations Director Plex, a small, six-eyed creature who'd remained silent until now, leaned forward. "We could recontextualize our declaration, High Commander." "Explain," Praxx demanded. "We frame the entire transmission as a cultural exchange exercise," Plex suggested, his voice gaining confidence. "A traditional Zolarian greeting ritual that the humans, regrettably, misinterpreted due to translation errors." "A cultural misunderstanding?" Praxx repeated incredulously. "Precisely." Plex nodded enthusiastically. "Our threatening posture was merely a formal introduction ceremony. Our invasion fleet is actually a cultural delegation. The countdown was an invitation to a traditional Zolarian festival." Several generals nodded in relief, latching onto this face-saving possibility. "The humans aren't fools," Admiral Zengo objected. "They've already demonstrated they understand our intentions perfectly well." Praxx stared at the central hologram, still displaying Earth. His 4 eyes narrowed in contemplation. "The humans have embarrassed me. Embarrassed us all. No species has ever dared mock the Zolarian Empire." "With respect, High Commander," Mira spoke from where she stood with the intelligence team. "Perhaps that's because no species we've previously encountered could afford to." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. "Your recommendation, Lieutenant?" Praxx asked, surprising everyone by seeking input from such a low-ranking officer. Mira stepped forward. "Full withdrawal, High Commander. Immediately. With a formal message acknowledging the misunderstanding." "The cowardice," General Klaxx protested. "Survival," Mira corrected quietly. "The humans have been extraordinarily restrained thus far. They're giving us a chance to back down without losing face entirely. Their mockery is merciful compared to what they could do." Praxx's fear glands remained completely deflated, a sign of deep distress in his species. For tense minutes, he stared at the holographic Earth, turning possibilities over in his mind. "The countdown continues," he finally declared. "But prepare a new transmission. We will reframe our approach as Plex suggests." "And if the humans reject our cultural misunderstanding narrative?" Admiral Zengo asked. "Then prepare evacuation protocols for the homeworld," Praxx replied, his voice hollow. "Because based on what we now know of humans, if they decide to respond with force rather than laughter. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. As the generals filed out, Praxx remained, staring at the image of Earth. His pride warred with the growing certainty of disaster. The most fearsome military commander in Zolarian history, undone not by enemy weapons, but by enemy laughter. High Commander. A human vessel has appeared at the edge of our defensive perimeter. Praxx spun toward the tactical display. It had been only 2 hours since they'd transmitted their hastily constructed cultural misunderstanding message. The humans shouldn't have been able to reach their position so quickly. The Zolarian fleet was stationed beyond Neptune. "Show me," he demanded. The main screen activated to display a single, sleek vessel, small by Zolarian standards, perhaps capable of holding a crew of 20 at most. Its hull bore no visible weapon systems, no threatening posture. Just a simple emblem, the Earth logo with olive branches, and beneath it, in multiple languages including perfect Zolarian script, the words "peaceful contact." "Scan it," Praxx ordered, suspicion overriding relief. "Sir," the tactical officer replied, "our scanners are having difficulty penetrating their hull." "What do you mean, difficulty? Are they using jammers?" "No, sir. The scanners are functioning perfectly. It's just that," the officer paused, looking confused. "It's as if their hull material simply absorbs our scanning frequencies without reflection." Before Praxx could respond, Communications Officer Jorvo called out, "Incoming transmission from the human vessel, High Commander." "Display it." The screen switched to show a single human female, dressed in a simple gray uniform. Her expression was pleasant, but carried none of the mockery they had come to expect. "High Commander Praxx of the Zolarian Empire. I am Captain Eliza Nakamura of Earth Diplomatic Corps. I've been sent as a personal envoy to deliver a message and a gift from the United Earth government." Praxx's fear glands remained completely deflated. "Proceed." "We've received your clarification regarding the cultural misunderstanding. The United Earth government has decided to accept this explanation, despite considerable skepticism." The human's expression didn't change, but something in her tone made Praxx's exoskeleton tighten. "I've been authorized to provide you with a small demonstration of human technological capabilities, not as a threat, but as an educational tool to prevent future misunderstandings." Admiral Zengo moved close to Praxx. "This could be a trap," he whispered. Praxx waved him to silence. "What demonstration do you offer, human?" Captain Nakamura smiled. "We noticed your fleet is experiencing some minor propulsion inefficiencies. With your permission, we'd like to correct those for you." Praxx blinked all 4 eyes in succession, his species expression of complete confusion. "Our propulsion systems are operating at peak efficiency." "By your standards, yes," she replied. "By ours, you're wasting approximately 37% of your energy output." Before Praxx could respond, the tactical officer called out in alarm, "High Commander. The human vessel is doing something. Energy readings unlike anything in our database." The main screen split to show the small human ship emitting a barely visible wave of energy that washed over the entire Zolarian fleet. "What have you done?" Praxx demanded, rising from his command throne. Captain Nakamura's expression remained unchanged. "We've upgraded your propulsion systems using a technology we developed roughly 200 years ago. Your fleet can now travel approximately 3 times faster than before, should you wish to, for example, return home quickly." The engineering console erupted with alerts as the chief engineer frantically analyzed the readings. "High Commander, she's telling the truth. Our propulsion efficiency has increased dramatically. The alterations are at a molecular level. We couldn't achieve this with our most advanced shipyards, yet they did it remotely, instantaneously, to our entire fleet." "That's impossible," Praxx whispered. "A second gift," Captain Nakamura continued, as if she hadn't heard him. "We've taken the liberty of updating your defensive systems as well." They were quaint. More alarms sounded across the bridge as systems reported unexpected changes. As a final gesture of goodwill, the human said, her voice still conversational, "We've transmitted to your cultural database our complete historical records. Redacted. We believe education is the foundation of peace." Praxx stared at the small human ship, understanding finally dawning with terrifying clarity. Your vessels were never primitive. Your defenses were never weak. It was all a choice. Captain Nakamura finished for him. Humanity chose peace a millennium ago, High Commander. Not because we forgot how to wage war, but because we became too good at it. She leaned slightly closer to the camera. We sincerely accept your cultural misunderstanding explanation. But perhaps, when you review our historical records, pay special attention to what happened to those who mistook our preference for peace as an inability to defend ourselves. The transmission ended, and the small human vessel simply vanished. Not jumping to faster than light travel, not cloaking itself, simply ceasing to exist at its location. In the stunned silence of the Zolarian bridge, Praxx sank slowly back into his command throne, a new emotion replacing his confusion and rage. An emotion Zolarians rarely experienced: fear. Set course for home, he ordered quietly. In maximum speed. No one mentioned that he had just surrendered without firing a single shot. No one needed to. The laughter of humans echoed in his mind as the stars blurred around them.